Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Low Life Plays coming at you with another deck tech here. This one is going to be for Rebbec and Silas. It's our Esper Artifact Protection deck, really. Rebbec really interested me with that ability where artifacts you control have protection from each CMC amongst artifacts you control. Seemed like a really interesting idea. And then Silas allows us to dip into the black and blue colors, along with being an evasive Death Toucher who can recur some of our cheaper artifacts, so we run a package to kind of help with that. So, let's just jump into it. Let's get them over here. Let's just come in stage left or right, whatever that means, I don't know. So, this first little stack of cards here is ways that we can turn Rebbec into an artifact. So Rebbec is not an artifact in itself, she is an artificer. Luckily, Silas is an artifact, so that's always nice. But what we need to do for Rebbec to protect herself is turn her into an artifact. So Swift Reconfiguration is a great way at flash speed to do that. And Enchanted Permanent is a vehicle, artifact, with crew 5. Loses all other card types. We don't really care. Just turn her into an artifact, she protects. She's just a mass protection, right? This one is a really strange card, Ashnod's Transmogret. You just tap it, sack it, and then the creature gets +1/+1 counter, and the creature becomes an artifact creature. That's it. Really, really good. Super strange card. These two are situational based, you know. I really keep them in play when someone tries to target Rebbec or target something that might not be an artifact yet, because we do have other creatures that aren't artifacts, but this could be really nice for just that targeted protection, just to turn target permanents into artifacts. It can also help to turn on certain CMCs. So, you know, maybe we have a 2-drop that isn't an artifact and we need protection from 2. This can really help to... I guess that 2 is a bad example because these are 2. So 3. We turn those into artifacts too. Just kind of, it just really spreads out that protection and it can be interesting. But typically what we're using it for is to protect Rebbec, especially if it's the second time or past that someone's played against this list. Phyrexian Metamorph has a lot of flexibility, can copy a lot of things. The main reason it's in here is you play Rebbec and then you play Phyrexian Metamorph, sacrifice the original Rebbec, and now you have an artifact version of Rebbec. That's why we're running Phyrexian Metamorph in this list. Encroaching Mycosynth, it's in here just as a broad sweeping, making everything artifacts, right? Non-land permanents you control are artifacts, in addition to their other types. Excellent. Same thing with Biotransference. Just makes them all artifacts. But this one does have the added benefit of whenever you cast an artifact spell, you lose a life and make a 2/2 artifact. Or it's a Necron Warrior artifact creature. But pretty cool. Good stuff. I really like these ones. So now we're getting into the card draw. So that's enough stuff to make sure that we can make Rebbec an artifact. Typically, we want to run Rebbec out with the plan to make her an artifact as quickly as possible, because that's really how our whole plan synergizes on getting through and being safe. And once you get everything online, though, you are like untouchable. It is so fun. So let's just get into this. So Baleful Strix, classic draw. Metzelani the Great Door, I have it in here just because it's a 3-mana looter. That's pretty cool. Has some extra upsides. Urza, Power Stone Prodigy. Here's one of the examples of creatures that are not artifacts that we could have synergy. But he allows us to loot, and whenever you discard one or more artifacts, you create tapped Power Stone tokens. So that's really nice. Riddlesmith, card draw. Videlkin Archmage, it's like super Riddlesmith, right? You just don't have to discard, so you just draw cards. This one's mass card draw, but also could be situationally a kill spell, right? Because target player draws X cards, loses X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. You will often, late game, will have a lot. You know, you have lots of artifact lands, you have lots of, you just have so much stuff that you could easily either draw yourself a ton of cards or deal a ton of damage to somebody. Shorkai, amazing draw engine. You know, Shorkai draw engine is really what he is. And he also gives you little blockers, so that's nice. We're into removal now. So what our removal plan is we're running Dispatch. It's pretty much a path if you have an artifacts, and we're running swords. So I like swords because I find life. You know, I'll rather give you a little bit of life than a land, honestly. Just in my opinion. Now Spellbomb, gotta have that graveyard hate. That's what this is in here for. Any of these low-cost artifacts, too, synergize very well with Silas. That's why I'm running some of these spell bombs, is because when you sack it, it's so easy to just recur it, get it back with Silas. And in addition to that, they allow you to draw cards. So really, really heavy synergy with these ones. Soul Guide Lantern, same kind of thing. You can either get rid of graveyards or you can use it to draw cards repeatedly with Silas. We're running Ether Spellbomb. Sometimes you don't need to blow something up. Sometimes you need to just bounce it out of play so you can deal with something else. So having a bounce is really nice, especially a recurable one that if you don't need it for a bit, you can also just cycle it to draw with our recursive package that's within our built-on, stapled into the commander there. Executioner's Capsule, just removal. That is 1 black, easy to recur. Dispeller's Capsule, same thing, but this is for enchantment removal and artifact, but mainly in here for enchantment removal. So Boombox is a flex slot. I opened it and I was like, for 2 mana, just like that seems pretty good to just have this in play and be an artifact, give you protection from 2 when you have Rebbec out, and then just have this bomb in play, but I don't really know how I feel about it. I might take it out. It's been swapped in and I haven't drawn it a lot. So, I'll keep the deck list up to date on what I'm doing with this, but this is definitely my newest add, and it's very flexible, but I like the ability to just blow up lands, creature, artifact, just so flexible and so cheap to recur with Silas. Armix, classic guy. A lot of people pair Rebbec with Armix. it's a great partner pairing. You get into the white and black, and essentially when he attacks, you discard a card. Target creature defending player controls gets -X/-X, where X is the number of artifacts you control plus the number of artifact cards in your graveyard. Very easy to just discard whatever and kill something. So, good stuff. Their name is Death. Destroy all non-artifact creatures. Really good. Same thing, Organic Extinction. This one costs more, but you can improvise it, so, maybe it might cost you less. But they're both one-sided, right? All of our artifacts, all of our creatures are supposed to be artifacts, or are going to try to be artifacts as quick as possible. Then we're going to ramp. Let's ramp. So we got Soul Ring, Azorius Signet, Orzhov Signet, Dimmer Signet, Talisman of Progress, Talisman of Dominance. That's really those. We are running our Gold, Leaden, Silver Mirrors, Solemn Simulacrum, great little sad robot boy, Ethereum Sculptor, and we're also running Foundry Inspector to just make things a little cheaper. I do have Smothering Tithe in here, just because I like the ability to have Smothering Tithe, right? People drawing, I'm making treasure. It's just good. Just a good card. And then let's protect ourselves. Teferi's Protection, just a great card, especially in the early game when we're trying to set up Rebbec. Maybe we have enough mana to get Rebbec out, and then we just can't get her protected, but we really need to get things moving, so we have this in hand. We take that risky turn, play Rebbec turn 4, turn 3, whatever we're able to do, and take it from there. But it's just a nice card to have. It's a very good get you out of a lot of things. The One Ring. I know this card. I opened one. This is where it is, just because it has a lot of artifact synergy. This one is, you could replace this with something, just some other value artifact. This one, though, I do have to say is very excellent in this list, just because giving us protection from everything is super good, and we have lots of synergies in sacrificing artifacts and bringing them back to our hands. We can cast them, or casting them from the graveyard. So there's a lot of interesting things here, but we'll see. Yeah, bouncing it back to your hand is definitely what we like to do here. Lita. So we do have 2 ways to just untap things. Just untap all artifact creatures, untap all artifacts. This one's definitely the better, but she's also nice. She can make artifact little flying vehicles, so that's cool. And then, yeah, Unwinding Clock is just a busted card. Insane, especially with the One Ring, where you just draw, sack it, and then you just have so much value, you just get it back, do it again. Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage is specifically in here for one reason, and one reason only, to get Soul Ring. No, not really. You can get, like, Dispeller's Capsule, you can get Executioner's Capsule, any of these, graveyard removal. But the biggest reason I run it is that is just extra synergy. The big reason to run it for me is to go get Ashnod's Transmigrant. We gotta turn Rebbec into an artifact. Being able to tutor this up so easily is just so valuable to us. So that's why I run it, but it has all this other synergy in the deck as artifact decks do. So, it's not surprising. Sphinx Summoner comes into play. Go get an artifact creature, put it in your hand, reveal it. It's great. Love Sphinx Summoner. Brings me back to the days of playing with Alara. Sai, Master Thopterist. Really good dude. You cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 Thopter. I love making Thopters. Love making tokens specifically in this deck, just because when like our tokens will benefit from our protection and we can just swing through stuff. And if we're playing against other tokens, doesn't matter because our token already has a CMC of 0. So Rebbec will protect it from being chump blocked from other tokens. Super nice. Same thing with Sharding Sphinx, just a really value piece. Pretty classic in artifact decks to run this. You know, anything whenever an artifact you control deals damage, you just make blue Thopter flying boys. Crazy. Steel Overseer, we have some untapped synergies, but I mean, Steel Overseer is just a powerful artifact creature, right, for 2. So Chimera the Inner Sun, I am running this as a 6 mana just to get some more protection variants. You know, typically the most things we need protection from are 0, 1, 2, and 3, in my experience, just because that's like where Path to Exile is. That's where Generous Gift, Beast Within, like that's where all of these removal spells live. So once we get past the 0 through 3 gate, we're typically pretty okay. You know, if a wipe happens, it's going to happen. You know, there's not much we can do about that. So this helps us just get set up. Makes it so our artifacts can't be countered. I'm not super worried about that, but just the additional end step Discover 5 all the time can really just churn out the value, so that's why we're using it. Karn, Legacy Reforged. I mean, I'm thinking about building a whole deck based on this guy. He's so strong. So he might be pulled out here just to lead his own list. He ramps like crazy, gets crazy big in this deck, but for right now, this is where he lives. Oswald Fiddlebender. I mean, dude's a birthing pod for artifacts, right? That's what he does. He's in here just to tutor out combos, make our deck more consistent, to just go get whatever we need. Most times he dies pretty quick. Glenalendra, Archmage. I've had this deck in a few lists. You know, anytime I think about recurring or a way to get back a value piece creature, with those 2 enchantments that can make everything an artifact, no matter where it is, it's pretty nice. So we're talking about the cards we referenced earlier with Encroaching Mycosynth and Biotransference. So creatures you control are artifacts in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So this allows us to use artifact recursion to mess around with Glenalendra and just have a really, really cheap, just counter target non-creature spell. So it has Persist already, so she's already really annoying to deal with, but the fact that you can just recur her is incredibly, incredibly valuable. Trading Post. How are we going to sack the ring? Here's one way. So the Trading Post allows us to sacrifice an artifact to draw a card. Pretty cool. And you can sacrifice a creature, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. There you go. It does the thing we need to do. Imitek the Stormlord. So he's in here just because, you know, we have artifact synergies, right? So whenever one or more, or not artifact, we do have those. We also have graveyard synergies. So whenever one or more artifact cards leave your graveyard, you make 2 Necrons. 2 2/2s. Silas can loop your cheap artifacts so much. That's why I like this deck a lot. It has so much versatility in the game plans. You know, typically we can artifact combo out. We can use some of the things at the end here that we'll talk about. Or you can just loop and make huge board states. So, really fun. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, another artifact creature gets bigger and menace. Not really what it's in here for, but it's just nice. Emery. We're running artifacts, man. We're going to run Emery. It's just what you do. But you can also, when you sacrifice any of our cool artifacts, this also just helps us recur things, right? I mean, that's a lot of what this package is our graveyard situation. So Emery is just amazing for that. Just costs less for each artifact you control. Emery's just crazy card. Ruthless Technomancer. This one I pulled when I got back into Magic in the Kamigawa stuff. And it's just really crazy. When Ruthless Technomancer enters the battlefield, you can sacrifice another creature you control. If you do, create a number of treasure tokens equal to that creature's power. Very, very crazy. And also, pay 2 and a black, sacrifice X artifacts, return target creature card with power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. X can't be 0. So it ramps you, and then it has just this crazy recursion to just return creature cards back to the... It's really phenomenal. Iron Soul Enforcer. I really don't know about this guy. He's definitely got high potential, but he costs 5, man. It's really expensive, and every time I've drawn him recently, I haven't been super hyped to see him. So, but he does have a lot of good synergy, because whenever he or a commander you control attacks alone, which really the idea is play him, have Silas out already, have Silas swing in with his Death Touch or protection from things, and you just get to return artifacts from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you're not paying, so you can do a lot of interesting things, but who knows. Brilliant Restoration is just mass return all artifacts to play. And enchantments, if any of ours did get removed. And then we got this boy, the Traveler. Whenever he attacks, you can cast an artifact spell from your hand or graveyard by paying life equal to its mana value instead of paying its mana cost. So that's cool. Very recursive, very easy to do things. Tezzeret. So this is going to get into our win conditions here. So Tezzeret is just a win con on his own because we have so many artifacts in play. When you drop Tezzeret down, you can just, you know, so when you have them in play, creatures and planeswalkers have affinity for artifacts. So you can, you know, drop a bunch of other artifact creatures down if you have them in your hand or whatever. But essentially, just dealing X damage and gaining X life, you'll just hit people for so much. Typically, when you drop him, he's very deadly. We are running a classic combo here of Sensei's, Bolas' Citadel, and Aetherflux Reservoir. You know, I typically like to have one out like this because games have to end. You know, if you want to play 4-hour Battlecruiser Magic, that's perfectly fine. You know, however you want to play the game. I typically want to get in a few games in a night, and if someone's trying to lock you out of a game or someone's playing a style that's just slowing the game down, to me knowing I have an out like this built into the deck already, like it's not what I'm aiming to go do, but the fact that I could go get it and I have ways to figure that out gives me peace of mind and allows me to play the game and have this knowing like, oh, okay, we can play this out because I do have a way to kill this lock. So that's why I'm running this. It's also just incredibly strong. Each piece is very powerful on its own. Plus it's fun to just top all the time and annoy the crap out of your opponents. Threefold Thunderhawk. This guy, I just loved him when I pulled him. I mean, I want to build gnomes so bad, so being able to play the biggest gnome was just a chance I had to take. Right, you enter the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it. When he ETBs or attacks, create a number of golems equal to its power, and you can sacrifice him to put... You can sacrifice another artifact to put +1/+1 counters on Threefold Thunderhawk. So, really the big thing here is it just makes so many artifacts, and I also wanted to have one super high power thing for 7, just because varying my costs across the board is something I needed to do, and I already had a 6 cost, and I already had a few 6 costs with like Bolas' Citadel and other things like that, and I had some 5 costs, so I really wanted to just kind of spread things a little bit higher up and just have that option to have a 7 protection. And I was looking at what 7 drops are good, and to me it was between this and like a Platinum Angel or something, but I haven't played this card before, so that's why it won out. Now we're going into our land section. So I pulled this Archway of Innovation, and I think it's pretty great here, right? I mean, it enters tapped unless you control an island. You can pay blue and tap it, and target the next spell you cast has Improvise. So, Improvise, big gnome man. Get gnomes. You know, Improvise plus gnomes equals you win the game. I'm running Fomori Vault too. It's a very heavy artifact synergy land. You know, you discard a card, look at the top X cards, where X is the number of artifacts you control, put one of those in your hand, rest on the bottom. Nice card selection, doesn't come in tapped. It's colorless, pretty cool. We're running Exotic Orchard and Command Tower for our colorless lands, for our all-color lands. We're running Watery Grave, Darkwater Catacombs, Morphic Pool, Sunken Hollow for our Demure lands. Isolated Chapel, Tainted Field, Godless Shrine. Oh, so beautiful though. These Unfinity ones, they smoking, so good. Prairie Stream, Glacial Fortress, that's what we're running for those lands. I had a Hollowed Fountain, but I pulled it, put it into another deck. Didn't really need it in this one. Colors seem pretty good. If you have one though, throw it in. Urza Saga, boom baby. Don't need this, purely just is excellent in this list because of the tutoring for a 0/1 mana artifact. And really what I want to go get is, you guessed it, Ashnod's Transmogrant, so we can turn it into an artifact. That's why it's here. Contaminated Landscape, just a fetch land. Polluted Delta. I pulled an extra one from my Modern Horizons 3 box opening, so it goes in here. We're going into artifact lands, so we're running Treasure Vaults, Ancient Den, Vaults of Whispers, Seat of the Synod. So that works out for me. And then we're also going to be running Goldmire Bridge, Razortide Bridge, Mist Vault Bridge. So these are artifact lands. They help us to get that CMC 0, which is pretty nice. And I've found that many artifact lands gets us where we need without risking too much of a blowout if someone Vandal Blasts or just like exiles all of our artifacts. Because I have a deck, my Jeskai, the Gnome Man Tetsun. I have him. He has so many artifact lands, so he's just very all in on the artifact plan. This one is just meant to be more a bit like able to bounce back and isn't as worried. I know some of them are indestructible, but don't want to be blown out by having our lands destroyed. So I'm running these old style lands. I really love this art with the little thundercloud in the background. So that's what we're running here for our planes. Got 6 of those. We're running some old islands here. Well, not old, but old border islands. 5 of them. I don't know why. Just this art style just felt the most perfect for this. And then 2 swamps. Just 2 little swamps. So anyway, that is the Silas and Rebbec list. I've seen a lot of stuff online just about Rebbec and all the different partner pairings that you can put her with, and to me, I just thought Silas was the most fun. And just that recursion plan to have all those tiny little artifacts to keep looping these, graveyard plans. You can shut them down, you can draw cards, you have access to so many different things. And every time I play the deck, it's kind of a fun little puzzle of like, okay, all right, how many CMCs do I have? How do I get to where I need to be? And it's just, even if you don't win, you just build, you feel like you have this huge fortress. And unless somebody combos out on you, you're pretty much, that's the only ways I've really lost with the deck is someone has a combo plan, because it's not damage most times, because the protection really helps a lot against that. But it is really fun to throw this deck together and just watch people's heads kind of scratch about, okay, well, how do I remove that? It's got protection from 0 through 5, so I've got to, figure out, I've got to pretty much draw a Wrath, or there's nothing. And you could build more counter magic into the deck to kind of avoid even that possibility, but I felt like, you know what, if you Wrath me, that's fine, that's why we have the recursion plan. We went really heavy in having a lot of recursion, so that's kind of how we built in our protection from Wraths. But that is the Rebbec and Silas deck. I think it's super fun. I suggest, if you got some of these artifacts, just give it a run, give it a try, build it on Moxfield, try my Moxfield list, see what you think. I think it's pretty fun, and just the keeping protection is very interesting. I've never really played around too much with protection before this list, so pretty fun stuff. Anyway, if you like this video and you like what I'm doing here and you like these deck lists, just leave me a like, drop me a comment down below, any crazy other artifact synergies you think we should run, or subscribe if you like me that much. All right, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!